It's a little over $1. And now setting the salvo for this edition, here's Kejan Henrietta Tembe with the headlines.
A group of qualified PhD holders are expressing frustration after being excluded from a special recruitment exercise aimed at hiring. The protesters, primarily from the Grand North region, are questioning the objectivity of the selection process led by President Paul Biya. A survivor shares her harrowing experience, shedding light on the ongoing trauma faced by victims of female genital mutilation. And respected statesman Abem Achoy begins his final journey, leaving behind a legacy of service. The renowned statesman, known for his significant contributions to Cameroon's political and social landscape, has passed away. His death marks the end of an era, with tributes pouring in from across the nation, honoring his lifelong dedication to public service. Coming to you live from our studios in Douala, the 6:50 News rolls out with Ntariki Divine Ramsey Jr.
Thanks once again for tuning in, and we flag off this edition from the capital Yaoundé, where a scandalous video involving a dozen students caught in an intimate scene has continued sparking outrage. The online publication of that video has led to the expulsion now of 11 students from the educational establishment after they were found guilty of violating public decency and also tarnishing the image of that school. Here's Beatrice Ngamo reporting from Yaoundé.
It is about an immoral affair that has been used for over 1 week in Yaoundé. Some students in an intimate or sex scene filmed and shared on social media. School officials saw it also January 22nd and launched an investigation to identify the students involved. And 11 of them were in the matter, though the girl went immoral with 4. The 11th student comprises 10 boys and 1 girl, were suspended on January 27, and after the disciplinary council session with school officials, their parents, PTA officials, the students themselves, and the police unit for the security of schools and universities, they were permanently expelled on Wednesday, February 5th. The decision was guided by the school's internal regulations, we were told. That is, for violating public decency and the school image. According to reports we got, the video was filmed at one of the students' home and shared on social media by one of the disgruntled protagonists driven by jealousy. It should also be noted that they are all lower-seed students from other schools, some with deep faith background. Experts are of the opinion that despite the severity of their actions, these young people need to be supported, given attention and even psychological and psychosocial sessions to overcome the ordeal. For there is sure more than meets the eye. This can deepen their sorrow, lead to loss of self-confidence, feeling of failure, difficulty to reintegrate into the school later, or finding a new educational setting. And also, it might increase the risk of dropping out or even marginalization.
And now back to Douala, where an over 50-year-old man has been killed by an alligator. Zimanu Emmanuel was reportedly snatched Thursday evening by the creature as he took his bath in a nearby river. And despite all of his cries for assistance and help, the creature pulled him down to the depths of the river, where he eventually met his own death. Here's Cynthia Latte.
This is where Zimanu Emmanuel was unexpectedly attacked by a giant alligator, which dragged him into the depth of the river on Thursday night, according to witnesses and residents of the Songbape neighborhood in Japoma village, Douala 3. The incident occurred as the over 50-year-old who lived nearby was taking a bath by the river following a work day at the quarry. Cries for help were heard. An alligator is taking me away. Before people could arrive about 10 minutes later, the alligator had dragged him away and moved to the other side.
Il a eu quand même le temps de crier à 2 reprises. Le caïman m'a pris, le caïman m'a pris. Le temps d'arriver pour le secourir, alors il se faisait déjà tard.
Early this Friday morning, the drivers from the quarry returned to the river banks empty-handed. They searched in vain for the remains of the latest victim. According to local residents, this animal is not new to its deadly attacks. The creature's methods of attacks remains consistent.
C'est au moins la 4e victime.
What is happening now has plunged the whole village into grief. This is at least the 4th victim. It has been only a week since we lost a young boy between 20 to 24 years old under similar circumstances. This makes us believe that the alligator is not far from us. He lives amongst us.
Le caïman n'est plus loin de nous, il vit parmi nous.
Je vous parle personnellement, je l'ai déjà vu, il est énorme. Il est gigantesque, ce caïman.
The alligator that attacks humans in this village is a terror for the villagers. They plan to meet with the local authorities on Monday, February 10, 2025.
We now take you over to the country's far north region where protests have erupted at Cliquez as locals oppose the creation of a new national park in that locality. The planned park, which is intended to protect crops from elephant damage, has sparked fears of loss of land and property by locals, resulting in opposition and clashes with security forces. As you tell us, Ambo Gladys Ndibang.
Armed with clubs, arrows, and makeshift weapons, angry protesters in Cliquez blocked National Road number 12, bringing traffic to a standstill as they voiced their vehement opposition to the newly created Mabetbet National Park, measuring 12,700 hectares. The demonstrators argue that the park, intended as a solution to rampant elephant crop destruction, will instead deprive them of their ancestral land and livelihoods. Authorities were quick to respond, with the governor of the Far North region personally intervening in an attempt to calm tensions. However, his presence only fueled the unrest, as furious protesters held him hostage for over an hour before he was forced into a hasty retreat. The situation soon escalated into violent clashes between demonstrators and security forces. Protesters erected thorn barricades to prevent law enforcement from intervening, resulting in injuries to at least 3 security personnel. One officer was struck by an arrow, while another suffered head injuries after being hit by a stone launched from a sling. Amidst the chaos, intelligence reports suggest that protesters were planning to march towards the residence of the Lamido of Cliquez with the intent to set it ablaze, a move that would further destabilize the region. As of now, local authorities have yet to issue an official statement regarding the unfolding crisis. Meanwhile, concerns continue to mount over the potential for further violence, with security forces on high alert to prevent further escalation.
And from the far north to our universities, because Cameroon's recruitment of university lecturers has continued to provoke angry outbursts amongst PhD holders nationwide. Some are claiming they have been unfairly sidelined from the process, and the controversy now raises questions about the government's commitment to promoting higher education, quality research, and above all, meritocracy. Jim Maureen will be reporting on this subsequently. And now, despite years of condemnation, female genital mutilation remains a painful reality for many young women across Cameroon, where the practice is rooted in tradition in some parts of the territory. Here now is a survivor's testimony which sheds light on the suffering and urgent need for action.
Soul-touching testimony of a survivor who, despite the pain and trauma, recounts her ordeal. At the age of 5, she was subjected to female genital mutilation. Today, at 24, she still bears the scar, deprived of certain pleasures.
Ils ont pris une lame qui chauffe. Et puis ils m'ont coupé une partie de moi. Je criais de douleur.
Need therefore to sensitize other young girls.
Cette pratique a beaucoup de conséquences sur la jeune fille.
These small activities can make you, because if you block female genital mutilation before to happen, you will change the life of the girls of Cameroon.
In Cameroon, the statistics remain unclear. UNICEF estimates over 200 million women and girls worldwide have been victims of female genital mutilation. The UNFPA supports the country in this fight.
We have engaged civil society who is able to talk about consequences, all the negative things that go with the excision and the cutting and all the different type of female genital mutilation we have, and to change the social norms who perpetrate this harmful practice.
Condemned by the 2016 Penal Code in its Article 277 with sanctions, but this can only be possible if the practice is denounced.
So when it is discovered that someone is practicing female genital mutilation, it should be denounced and the person will receive the appropriate sanction.
The stop or sanction must also go with other opportunities.
Because they say that that's how they live. You need to give them an income-generating activity so that they can completely abandon the practice.
The traumatized victims to be followed up also.
Being that they will be integrated in the universal health coverage for the repairs.
The theme of this 18th edition of the International Day of Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation is Her Voice, Her Future, a call to stop.
We now take you to the Northwest region where over 400 cases of gender-based violence were documented and reported in 2024 alone. That's a stark reminder of the collateral damages caused by the ongoing Anglophone crisis. And as the conflict drags on, human rights activists now say that empowering women could be key in de-escalating the violence. Here's Gladys Ambon-Dibang once again.
For nearly a decade, Cameroon's 2 English-speaking regions have been embroiled in conflicts with women and girls, disproportionately bearing the brunt of the violence. Reports indicate that over 400 cases of gender-based violence were recorded in the Northwest region alone in 2024. Now, a new initiative, Woman on a Place Day, aims to change the narrative by focusing on the empowerment of women and girls.
Last year, we had about 400 cases of gender-based violence in the Northwest, and these cases are managed by our field staff and our collaborators like Doctors of the World. So we want to appreciate UNFPA that is coming to add to the efforts we have been carrying out in the field to make sure that gender-based violence at the end of the 4 years will be a thing of the past.
This project is very important because it's addressing issues which have been plaguing women for the past 9 years since this crisis began. We talk about gender-based violence, we talk about peace consolidation, and we are talking about women empowerment. Lately, we have gotten a lot of femicides that have been taking place. Women have been raped and killed.
For the project's coordinator, restoring the dignity of women in the Northwest and Southwest regions is non-negotiable. The project, therefore, aims to equip the women with financial independence in order to reduce their vulnerability to violence.
This type of partnership and financial arrangement is very, very important to allow UNFPA to support long-term program. Having this intervention for 4 years will allow UNFPA to do knowledge transfer to local actors, to do capacity strengthening, which is very, very important for local actors to participate in this project implementation.
Simultaneously, peace education efforts will also target men, young people, and community leaders, ensuring a broader societal shift towards ending gender-based violence.
over 6:30 p.m. Cameroon time, and you're watching the news on Canal International, broadcasting live from Douala. Now, if you live in Cameroon, you must have noticed the drift. Increasingly, French-speaking Cameroonians are enrolling their offspring in Anglophone educational institutions. Experts and especially educationists say they are not entirely surprised given the advantages contained in the Anglophone system of education. Some of them have been speaking to our reporter Cynthia Latte.
Muna and her husband have chosen to seek in extraction drawn by its structure.
Le sous-système anglo-saxon.
With the Anglo-Saxon subsystem, specialization begins in the secondary school. The children know exactly what they want to do, be it science or arts disciplines, and lessons too are in-depth.
Un peu très approfondi.
Giseigar appreciates both educational systems, but has a preference for the Anglo-Saxon approach, guided by his aspirations for his children in the national and global job markets.
I personally orientated my children. They are still in primary level, all in Anglo-Saxon education.
This shift is gaining momentum across French-speaking towns in Cameroon, motivated by the belief that it would be easier to guide his children as a teacher in the French subsystem. Kalam Gala initially sent all his children to the French system. However, he admits that if he had to choose again, he would opt for the English system.
Le système francophone, en cours, c'est un peu faible.
The French subsystem is somewhat weak in its courses, while the English subsystem allows the child to integrate easily into active life. It enables the child to be bilingual and more specialized, unlike the French subsystem, which tends to group everything together.
Vraiment spécialisé.
Educators explain that this trend, influenced by the country's history, fosters bilingualism and multiculturalism.
The origin is traced from 1961 when the Federal Constitution instituted the two subsystems in Cameroon, from where Cameroon became a bilingual country. Sending their children to the English subsystem of education doesn't mean that they wouldn't speak French again, no. They don't speak. It's a matter of acculturation.
However, the reverse is hardly seen, as very few English-speaking parents send their children to the French subsystem of education.
If it occurs, then it can be less than 2% in the whole country. It can be less than 2%, and that 2% depends only on where that parent can be. For example, you could be sent to a region where there is no accessibility to the English subsystem of education. There you're obliged to send your children maybe to the French subsystem of education.
The challenge now lies in balancing the strengths of both educational systems to ensure that all children receive a comprehensive and enriching education.
And this rather sad one before we take leave of you, and that's because David Abouem Achoi, one-time Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic of Cameroon, will be laid to rest tomorrow, February 8. His official funeral, decreed by President Biya, began earlier today in the capital, Yaoundé. The respected figure in Cameroonian politics served in various high-ranking positions throughout his career and will be remembered for his contributions to the country's development. And it's on that note that we ask you to accept very fervent gratitudes for the privilege of your company from the entire production crew. Stay safe until we come back around on Monday. There's more news coming your way at 1950 with Michael Chipkio. But before then, Matthew Fangwa will take control on the debrief. Bye-bye.